If Kamala is reelected, New Mexico's economy will be reduced to rubble. You're not going to be drilling oil. You're not going to be. There's no more drilling. There's no more oil. You can forget it. And I'll cut your energy prices in half within 12 months from entering office. January 20th, we enter office. Within 12 months, all of your energy bills, your car, your air conditioning, your heating, everything will be 50%.
And that was former President Trump vowing to lower energy expenses while campaigning in New Mexico yesterday. The New York Post editorial board endorsing President Trump and his energy policy, calling it a clear no-brainer. They're also warning that Kamala Harris will continue her war on fossil fuels, banning gas appliances and gas-driven cars, imperiling the nation's electrical grid, driving prices up, and up, writes the Post. Of course, the New York Post is owned by News Corp, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News Media. Joining me now is Texas Congressman Randy Weber, who's a member of the House Energy and Commerce and Science, Space and Technology Committees. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Your reaction to the Post's editorial?
Well, listen, it's no secret that Kamala Harris has a war on energy, and you know my Gulf Coast of Texas, we have my district has 7 ports with 3 LNG plants. So for us, energy is a big deal. I was listening with great interest to your earlier segment about Cubans saying that Trump doesn't surround himself with women. And I appreciate you, by the way, Maria, being on, and you had Caroline and Cheryl and Linda on this morning, which kind of decries some of the stuff that Cuban was accusing us of, I guess, for lack of a better term. But look, all you have to do is follow Kamala Harris's policies. She's going to kill fracking. She can't become president. That was a great point. You can't become president by hating the American people. She's going to kill fracking. She's got open borders. She lets out criminals, violent criminals, without bail. So what Trump said in New Mexico was exactly correct. Harris has a war on energy, and the American people are suffering right now with Biden inflation, with higher fuel prices. So to get her as president would really do a bad number on our country.
Yeah, no, a lot there. Look, it's disappointing to hear the constant slurs from the Biden-Harris campaign, and also disappointing to see how ignorant Mark Cuban appears, Congressman. But look, let's put the name-calling aside for a second and talk about policy. Unfortunately, we haven't really had a clear policy from Kamala Harris with regard to any of this, whether it's energy or inflation. Do you believe that President Trump will be able to spark growth? I mean, he's talking about extending the tax cuts, tapping into the energy capacity in America so that he could actually spark a trajectory of growth. Do you see that happening? Should he win the White House?
I do. Yes, ma'am, I do. And I'll add another reason to that, because the United States is not respected around the world right now. And when we have a strong America, we have a safer world. We're going to be able to sell more energy to our friends and our allies, and even some that maybe not necessarily as big of allies as some of them are, but they want to buy American fuel because we're not going to cut it off in the wintertime like Putin does. They want to buy cheap, reliable, inexpensive, reliable fuel. And America is in a good position to sell it, to be able to, as Trump said, drill, baby, drill. That's been a term for a long time, even when I was in the Texas House back in 2009. So I think he can do it. But we have to have confidence. And I so appreciate y'all's stock market update every morning, because energy companies will grow. People will invest when they've got a president at the helm that believes in American superiority and believes in the American people and believes in American energy.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues or mistakes that we've seen in the last 4 years is really strangling these companies, right? All of the regulatory, headwinds that have come at business is really one of the issues that voters are worried about. And President Trump says he's going to cut regulation should he have the opportunity. But I would say probably the biggest failure of this last 4 years has been the wide open border. And I want to talk about your bill, Congressman, because you're supporting a new bill which moves to end the tax-exempt status of certain non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and nonprofits, saying that they are aiding and abetting the illegal migration crisis. It's called the Helping Americans by Restricting Resources to Immigrant Services Act, otherwise known as the Harris Act. Tell us more about it.
Well, look, you're exactly right. It would end the tax exempt status of these NGOs. I went down to the border when I was in the Texas House, 2009 and 2012. It was bad then. I kind of saw what they were doing with I couldn't believe it. And think of it this way, Marie. Well, let me give you some facts. As of July 24, according to CBP, more than 7 million illegals are under final orders of removal but not detained. Let me tell you what that means. 425,000 convicted criminals, 222,000 with pending criminal charges, 62,000 with convictions of assault, 14,000 burglary. I could go on. You know, there's 3 or 4 young girls who have been raped and killed by people who are not even supposed to be here. I would say to those NGOs, we've got hurting Americans right now under Biden inflation. They can't buy houses. Their finances are in shambles. We've got hurting Americans who are here legal. Why don't y'all focus on them instead of helping illegals come in with a whole slew of criminals? It makes no sense. Yeah. We ought to cut off their tax. We ought to cut off their tax status until they start doing what's right for Americans.
So are they getting the directive from this administration to help the illegal migrants, get from A to B? I mean, they are organizing the bus trips, right, and the transportation for some of these folks who arrive at the Texas border and then want to go wherever they want to go, Chicago or Texas, etc. Is that what's going on, Congressman?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been in the airports when they come through they had they were given cell phones. They all had a certain blue folder, and you'd see 7 or 8 or 10 of them come off of the plane at one time. And the NGOs are sending them inland. They are like the, UPS they are the transportation service, the taxis for these people. And it ought not to be that way. And they ought to have to pay the price of no tax exempt status.
Yeah, real quick, Carolyn, your thoughts?
Yeah, Congressman, I was just going to say this reminds me of the outcry to the FEMA funding and the money that was redirected to those migrant NGOs, which we know are profiting off of the border crisis. So I'd say, I don't know if I have time for a question, but I think there needs to be more accountability, not just for their tax exempt status, but for the leaders of these NGOs that are, because of generous compensation, leading lavish lifestyles. And like I said, they have an incentive because of the border crisis.
That's a good point. You're making a very, very good point. It has to be stopped.
All right, Congressman. Great to have you this morning. We so appreciate it. Thank you, Randy Weber. We will catch up soon.
We appreciate you.